Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Ship Safely podcast. I'm Sebastian, your host, and today I'm joined by Carl and Ben from DoubleZero, a new decentralized infrastructure layer built to speed up blockchain networks using a global mesh of private fiber links. Carl is a part of the core team building DoubleZero, the high-speed backbone, and Ben leads engineering at Malbec Labs, the core developer team behind the protocol. Carl, Ben, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
To kick things off, one thing I always ask all of our guests is what do you want listeners to take away from this conversation and why should they stay and listen to this episode?
Sure. So I think the thing that we want people to take away is that this is a completely new idea of decentralizing a global fiber private network for high performance systems. And we've been able to do it in ways that are both novel and ways that have been built on existing technology. And if you want to hear exactly what those are, you'll have to stick around to see what that is.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ben, for that tidbit. Now, the first question for Carl. Let's start, with the big picture. What is DoubleZero and what kind of problem is it trying to solve?
So DoubleZero is a first of its kind protocol. I guess the big picture is it's a decentralized network. And the idea is there's a lot of underutilized fiber that these owners can put to work and get rewarded for it by being part of DoubleZero instead of just leaving it dormant. For the blockchain world, validators of these blockchain networks would benefit because the network aims to raise the ceiling of performance by increasing bandwidth and lowering latency.
Definitely. One thing that I wanted to just add on to that is, this thing that you mentioned with underutilized fiber. Like, I feel like that is something that is maybe very clear for you guys, but not necessarily clear for our listeners. Can you maybe expand on that a bit?
I can take that one. Yeah. So I think there's a big misconception that all of the fiber all around the world is completely utilized, and that's not really the case. There's a lot of fiber that's just sitting dormant or underutilized. And so one of the things that we've done with Double Zero is provide incentives to say if you if you contribute to our network, we will incentivize you through our 2Z token, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But there's a lot of reasons for why there's a lot of underutilized cables around the world. And one of the interesting things is that subsea cable fiber sort of manufacturing as well as laying new fiber entirely are very slow processes, lots of fax machines involved. And by working with contributors who already have this fiber, we can move very quickly to bring a link online in maybe a day or two as opposed to months or even years in some cases, which would be an extreme example.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And like I think this ties into the next question really well because like DoubleZero has been described by some or many as a fast lane for blockchains, but like it might not be clear for everyone how it actually works. Can you expand on that a bit?
Sure, of course. So I would say Fastlane for blockchains covers part of it, but not all of it, because what we're really building is high performance network, which implies speed, but also control. You imagine an F1 car goes very fast, but without the control, it's just going to crash into a wall. And so we're building something that is high performance with both speed and control so that you can basically get your packet there as quickly as possible. And this is nothing new. High frequency trading firms, big tech companies have been using private networks for 20 years. And one of the reasons that it's economically not viable to do this at the scale that we're doing is because it's very, very expensive to run these global networks. And so the high frequency trading firms, as well as the big tech companies, they have very specific private networks that cover the areas that they need. And so by doing it the way that we're doing it, we're able to hopefully bring up parts of the world that are underrepresented so that we can have a fully diverse and globally representative global network. And what this means for blockchains is, I think Carl will talk about this a little bit later, but like financial trading, if you can be very certain that something is going to happen within a very precise amount of time, you can make a better trade. And so that's what we're providing for Solana as well. Although this can be extended to almost any technology. If you can send a packet over the wire, we can probably support you.
Oh, That's amazing. This is the first time I hear like sort of making the internet more representing more parts of the world on the internet because like too many, I think like it seems like everything is interconnected, but you guys really dive deep into all of those connections between different continents and cities and look at the latency for each one and it's not like it's so homogeneous, right? Um, Following question for Carl, can you explain how the double zero economy works in practice and how you reward contributors?
Yeah, so we have this concept called proof of utility, which is just how the protocol rewards network contributors. The basic idea is figuring out the utility for each contributor, like what they bring to the network. And the utility is expressed as something called a Shapley value, which just measures what their contribution is to the network compared to what the public internet offers. So higher quality contributions are rewarded more, like having much more latency than the public internet. And I guess if you want to learn more, we have plenty of documents written by our economist. He has some great write-ups on our website.
Got it. I want to double click on that thing you just said before with, quality is rewarded and this system actually rewards quality. Um, how do you measure it? How do you measure that quality?
Yeah, so not so the idea is we have telemetry data. So comparing the round trip latencies between devices on the double zero network relative to like metro to metro latencies over the public internet. So basically, the reward calculation iterates over every possible combination of contribution to the network using these basically comparative telemetry measurements that are made. And the reward proportion is determined by the relative Shapley values that are computed from these uh, using these aggregated telemetry calculations. So I guess
Wow.
like the what was part of the question about fairness. I guess the fairness,
Yeah.
yeah. So the fairness comes from the reward calculations being systematic and reproducible. So using like all the telemetry data, which is publicly available. You can fetch that from the DZ ledger. Anyone can reproduce the reward calculations for the network contributors.
Is there like any kind of like interesting analogy that you can think of for this value, this Shefley value, which you mentioned that is computed? Like how would you explain it to a 5-year-old?
Let me see. Ben, do you have like a good analogy? I'm trying to think of like how a 5-year-old would consume this information.
Yeah, so I can say something I talked to with my son last night, who's 6, so sort of close, and he's beginning to read pretty well. And so I said, we don't watch a lot of TV. And so as a incentive, I said, hey, if you can read this harder book, a high quality book, then you can get the reward of watching an episode of Snoopy. Which again, it's not great parenting. I admit that, but sometimes you gotta barter with the children. And so I think that's it. Where basically if you give something better, you get something better in return. And like in the I don't know the most basic
Mm,
sense. I don't know what do you think, Carl. That's very oversimplifying it, but
I think what's interesting about the Shapley values is it captures like the collective like effort of like the whole like network and like um well what's interesting is like Shapley values don't just reward like dedicated lines where there's like no redundancy. It can reward like redundancy as well. So I'm deviating
oh,
from like the 5-year-old explanation right now, but basically like if there's like two lines that represent like a pathway between like two metro areas, both could be equally rewarded, if they have the same expected latency. But like the system as a whole is like um, enhanced by this.
got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, now I got it. That's a really good analogy, and it resonates because our son is also just started school, and we also reward him with screen time if he reads a lot. I can relate. Ben, the next question's for you. When, building such a impressive system, what practices or frameworks did you rely on for ensuring that the system is secure?
We have a pretty diverse and experienced set of people making up both the DoubleZero Foundation and the Malbec Labs side. Experience from high frequency trading to space to traditional finance and everything in between. And so we've been able to sort of coalesce all of our experience into sort of a common understanding of security, and we follow best practices. Of course, we're working with you guys on the audits, and we have pen testing, the smart contract audits, and then we're publishing those so that everyone can see what we're doing. All of our code is open source, so we're trying to be as transparent with the work that we're doing, and then of course with the any security vulnerabilities that might be found, we address those and remedy those and publish updates. So really just trying to be transparent and following best practices from the various industries that we've all worked in.
Yeah, that's great. One thing I wanted to add there is that you are probably the only customer or the first customer that we've had who told us that we should actually add something that we were unsure if we should add it, to the report, in the sense that we thought like, oh, you probably know about it, and many times customers like, no, we know about it, you don't need to add it to the report, and you guys are like, no, it's fine, just add it, it's fine, and you guys were very diligent in adding everything, being super transparent, and the fact that you're like willing to publish all of those reports speaks volumes. Carl, the next question is for you about bug bounties. So is there something planned, or are you planning to work with external researchers like the more global community in the future?
Yeah, so we don't have an official bug bounty at this time. I guess until we have one, we'll continue to work with, security researchers like yourself. But our repos are open sourced, so anyone can contribute if they want. But yeah, it's in the works.
Yeah, I encourage security researchers everywhere. I know we might have a few watching to take a look at the code. It's written beautifully, very good documentation. So highly encourage anyone to take a look. Next question is for Ben, and this goes more into, the ecosystem itself. I know, everyone knows DoubleZero launched the mainnet beta recently in October, and it already supports Solana off out of the gate. And what has the response been so far from validators and users?
Yeah, like you said, we launched on October 2nd, and we had our test net from around roughly April of this year. And we have about 34% of Solana mainnet stake on our network. So I think that shows that validators and users see the value of DoubleZero and are putting their money where their mouth is, as it were, by actually putting stake on our network. And again, this is why it's so important, why we're transparent, and why because we're a new company, we're building this new thing, and we want to be as open as we can. So we have all of our metrics for the network as well as the blockchain metrics published for anyone to see them. So I think the response has been great so far. It's still very early days. And one of the reasons that I think it's gone so well is because we're doing our best to establish relationships with existing teams like Anza, like Firedancer, like Jito, and others in the ecosystem, so that we can work together to build the best possible thing we can for Solana, and then more generally for anyone wanting to use DoubleZero.
Oh yeah, I mean, more than 30% of Solana stake in a bit over a month and a half is very impressive. Speaking about that, are you planning to support other chains in the future? And how would that work?
It's a great question. So because we're operating at the basically the packet level, we can support almost anything. And so we're trying to find other people to work with who need the low latency, low jitter services that we offer, as well as also others who maybe have a different model where they prefer to have higher bandwidth and they can tolerate a little bit more latency. So there's two really buckets that we're falling into. One is very low latency. One is maybe slightly higher latency with more bandwidth. But we can support those. And again, if you can send a packet from one point to another on the internet using the existing protocol, we can probably support you. So, and that's one of the things that's most exciting about DoubleZero is in 5 years, who knows where this will be and who knows what we'll support, because we can really expand to almost any industry that needs a high performance global network.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think like there might be this sort of common misconception where everyone thinks that double zero is very specific to a certain chain, but it's not necessarily the case. And it's exciting to see what the future brings. We've gotten to the end of the podcast episode. It felt like it flew by really fast. We have the rapid fire closeout questions, so I'm gonna kindly ask if you can answer with like one sentence each of these questions. You guys can take it can take which question you want. First question is, can you name a tool or principle that your team used and couldn't have built double zero without?
Sure. Let's say don't reinvent the wheel. We built all of DoubleZero on existing technology, technology that's been around for 20 years, and then we added a novel way to put it all together with decentralization.
Second question is if you can name one thing that surprised you during the build or the launch of the network.
One thing that surprised me was how smoothly everything has gone because we're not even a year from the publishing of the white paper, which was last December. So to go from white paper to mainnet beta in under a year and to have things go pretty smoothly so far is a testament to the team. It's a good surprise, to be sure.
Awesome. Third question, what needs to happen for, projects like DeFi projects or something else to grow 10 times from here? Is there a new wave of DeFi coming or other apps, and what would it look like?
I can take that one. I guess it's an opinion, but I think the next wave is building internet capital markets, so providing global financial infrastructure like what DoubleZero strives to do.
Awesome. And the last question, if you can leave a question for the next guest.
Yeah, sure. Maybe role will privacy play in the next era of blockchain?
Awesome. That's a great question. I think it's on everyone's minds right now, right? Thanks a lot, guys, for being on. Really appreciate your time. Can you please mention where our listeners can find you online, social media?
Sure, I'm on Twitter at BGMARX, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. If you search for my name, Carl Kempe, you can find me there. I don't post much or anything really. And you can follow what I'm contributing. My GitHub handle is Carl-DZ on GitHub.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. And it was a pleasure talking to you. Have a great rest of your
Yeah, you
day.
too. Thanks for having us.
Nice, thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.
See you.